It's been just 2 weeks since the big announcement of the Sisters at Sea 4-ship meetup in the Caribbean next year, but already there is a ton of Virgin Voyages news that we have to catch up on. If you're a Virgin Voyages fan like I am, you'll know things are moving incredibly quickly. Well, thankfully, I'm here to make sure that we all keep up to date with the latest developments and changes on board the 4 Virgin Voyages Lady ships. And if we haven't met before, my name is David from VV Insider, which is a website that helps millions of sailors around the world learn all about the changes and updates that's happening across the Virgin Voyages brand, and crucially giving everyone around the world free access to guide, news and information that you'll need to know when you're planning your next cruise on board Virgin Voyages. Well, in the past couple of weeks, we've seen some really monumental events happen across the brand, including the first crossing of the Panama Canal by Brilliant Lady. We'll also be looking at some new things to look out for on board Brilliant Lady as she makes her debut season on the west coast of the United States. There's also quite a big update for the Virgin Voyages app, so we're going to be taking a look at the new features included there. A brand new themed sailing has been announced for any fans of podcasts, which will be taking place in October later this year. So we're going to take a look further into that too. Virgin Voyages have also announced a brand new offer that replaces the wave offer that has been going on since January. We're going to take a look at this offer to see how you're able to save the most money possible on your next booking. And in between all the news and announcements, there's actually been a brand new happenings cast launch on board Scarlet Lady. So we're going to take a look at some new names and faces, including some recognizable returning cast members as well. Then to round things off, we're going to take a look at a bit of news around Virgin Voyages' involvement in the Australian cruise market. So you'll definitely want to stick around for that. Well, there's tons to look into, so let's kick things right off. First of all, the most recognizable piece of news for us fans of Virgin Voyages was Brilliant Lady's first crossing of the Panama Canal. This took place on the 26th of March, and this was a really monumental event in Virgin Voyages history. The first sense that we got that there were ambitions for a Panama Canal crossing was when the details of the new design for Brilliant Lady were revealed over on VVinsider.com. It was here that we learned that Brilliant Lady was going to be modified so that the lifeboat could be taken in slightly to allow her to get to the width necessary for her to pass through the Panama Canal. This included mounting the lifeboats on a new system which allows them to be brought in mechanically, and this sets her apart from the other 3 ships in the Virgin Voyages fleet. Well, we got our first glimpse of exactly what that looks like when those lifeboats are brought in, and as you can see from this picture, it does bring the width of the ship down by quite a bit. I will of course grant you that it does mean for this day during the Panama Canal crossing that there wasn't a huge amount of room for people to get around the ship outside on deck 7. And although personally we weren't on board for this particular crossing, we were lucky enough to know a lot of friends on board who were able to send us lots of fantastic pictures of the crossing taking place. And if you want to see what crossing the Panama Canal looks like on board Brilliant Lady, you can head over to our article, which on the day was presented as a live blog, and we kept updating with photos and information all day. And you can take a look at what to expect on those Panama crossings as they come up again and again as Brilliant Lady makes her way from the west coast to the east coast and vice versa. We heard from a lot of people that this was a really, truly monumentous occasion, and Virgin Voyages were even selling special merchandise in the brand store to commemorate the trip. If you like the sound of this idea of crossing the Panama Canal on board Virgin Voyages, there are 4 upcoming sailings to look forward to, and we've got details about those itineraries over on VVinsider.com, where you can snag some extra special exclusive perks for just booking using the VVinsider.com website. It doesn't cost you any more, but you'll get some extra special perks just for doing so. For full details and to learn how to book, head over to VVinsider.com/book. Speaking of Brilliant Lady, since the Red Hot Sailing Club voyage, which took place a couple of weeks ago, we've learned of some new events that have launched ready for her West Coast debut. One of these very special events is called Radiance by Virgin Voyages. This is an early morning wellness class that takes place at 6:30 a.m. Radiance is hosted by the Happenings cast, and it takes the form of almost a silent disco. So each of the guests are provided with wireless headphones, and this event takes place at the Aquatics Club, which is the main pool. The inaugural version of Radiance by Virgin Voyages took place on the Red Hot Sailing Club voyage and was hosted by Katrina the Balancer. This particular event has got some incredibly positive feedback. Everyone we know that took part in Radiance absolutely loved it. And although there's no official silent disco on board the Virgin Voyages ships, now they have the equipment, it might be an indicator that we might see some more events taking this silent disco technology in a different direction. That of course is complete VV Insider conjecture, but if they have the technology on board, you never know what they're going to do with it. Sticking with Brilliant Lady just for one extra moment, there has been some new updates again to get her ready for her West Coast debut, and namely these are some updates to some internal spaces which bring her up to parity with the rest of the ships. So the two main things to look out for here is an update to the den to make it into the den casino, which you may have seen on board Scarlet Lady, Valiant Lady or Resilient Lady. Another update here is that there's been a reworking of the juice bar, and now that becomes Juice C. For anyone that's been following Virgin Voyages for some time, you'll know that the den used to be the space on board the ships that always had a bit of a question mark over it, because it wasn't always designed to be a public-facing, sailor-accessible area on board. In fact, sometimes the den was simply used for staff training and seminars. Well, as of the Panama Canal crossing, the den is now nowhere to be seen across the entire fleet. Instead, across the entire fleet, we now see the den casino, which is an extension to the casino, and the den specifically is for high rollers. We got to see what the den casino looked like on board Resilient Lady earlier this year, and it is a really nice and intimate space. We're not big gamblers ourselves, so we weren't using the games or the machines, but there is a lovely seating area, and it's just a nice place to get away from a lot of the hustle and bustle on board the rest of the ship, especially when the casino isn't open, if perhaps you're in port or earlier in the morning. So I do recommend, even if you're not somebody who enjoys gambling, have a peek into the den casino. And if you've missed out on seeing what the den used to look like before it was changed into the casino, we've got a picture here on our article of what it used to look like, where it used to be a place just to hang out and play things like board games or sewing circles and things like that. If you're looking for that type of atmosphere or event now, you'll head straight up to the social club instead. Also on Brilliant Lady, the juice bar that sits between the dockhouse and the dock at the very back of Deck 7 has now been re-engineered, and it is now called Juice C. This redesigned bar is much more welcoming and inviting than it used to look, and there's now some more lovely artwork on the walls to make this a much more inviting space rather than just the corridor it felt like before. Again, a huge thank you to our sailors who are on board the Panama Canal crossing that sent us these pictures of the new spaces and of the Panama Canal crossing themselves. We couldn't do it without you, thank you so much. Some more updates, this time not to the ships themselves, but the app experience. So the Virgin Voyages app was relaunched back last year to a native application, and there were a few features missing when the app originally launched. Well, with the app being mostly feature-rich, we're now seeing some new features launching on the app itself. You'll notice there's a new tab, which is called the Planner. The Planner tab is designed to show you the port times, anything that you've got scheduled or booked as part of your Virgin Voyages experience, and generally a more useful and innovative way to see what your agenda looks like each day of your voyage. This change comes alongside some other navigation changes. So if you do have a voyage coming up, or if you're on board at the moment, take a look at the app and have a look at the changes and let us know what you think. Are there any other features that you'd like to see on the Virgin Voyages app? Let us know in the comments your ideas. We do know from across our social channels that there has been some challenges with the new app and some issues reported, but we do know that the Virgin Voyages IT team are aware of some of these issues and are getting them fixed as soon as possible. So just make sure your Virgin Voyages app is always up to date. If you remember last year, there was a theme sailing that was all around true crime podcasts. This took place in October last year and actually coincided with a Halloween voyage. From what we understand, this was really well received, and people that were on board that voyage and that were a fan of those true crime podcasts had a really incredible time. Well, it's now been announced that there is a new podcast-themed voyage coming up later this year. So on October 2nd, 2026, there is a very special sailing that has some extra programming provided by the producers and hosts of the iHeart podcast network. Specifically, these are the podcasts that are all in the stuff theme. So that includes stuff you should know, stuff they don't want you to know, and also Stuff Mom Never Told You. So that means the hosts and the producers of each of these 3 podcasts will be on board this special voyage, which has been named Stuff at Sea. This is taking place on Valiant Lady. This very special 5-night cruise goes out from New York, heads to Bermuda, before returning back to New York City on Wednesday, the 7th of October. This will be a rare opportunity to watch these podcast episodes being recorded live in front of you, but there is of course the traditional Valiant Lady events lineup running alongside these special events. So if you're not a fan of podcasting and you're still booked on board this voyage, fear not, you're still going to have that Virgin Voyages experience regardless of this theme going alongside it. There's still really good availability for this particular voyage, so if you're looking to get booked, then head over to our article on vvinsider.com where we tell you more about what to expect on this voyage, and we tell you what pricing and deals are available for this particular voyage, as well as all the other upcoming voyages too. Speaking of other upcoming voyages, there is a new deal available across all upcoming Virgin Voyages sailings. This special new deal became available on the 1st of April and runs all the way up to the 28th of May. And it's actually a really interesting one because we have seen such a fantastic offer since January. What we generally expect to see is that offer is the best one possible. Well, actually, we've been doing some digging and it looks like this offer is actually still pretty darn good. So this offer gets you 70% off a second sailor. Before this date, it was 80%. But now they're introducing this idea of instant savings available when you book. And these instant sailings are effectively just money off the cruise fare. And these instant savings are based on the cabin category and the number of nights of the voyage. But it does mean that for some particular sailings, this offer actually comes out better, especially if you're looking at those higher level cabin categories like Rockstar or Mega Rockstar. The 70% off a second sailor deal we're pretty familiar with. What this really boils down to is if you book a sailing with 2 or more sailors, everyone on that sailing gets 35% off of their cruise fare. And that even counts if you've got 4 sailors in a room, you all get 35% off. So you can already get some really good savings that way. But if you want to get those extra instant savings, let's take a quick look at how that works. So we've broken this down really visually on our article over at vvinsider.com. But effectively, if you want to max out those savings to get $1,000 off, you want to choose one of the longer sailings and you want to choose a Mega Rockstar category. But there are still some really good savings to be had on sea terraces, and even all the way down to Insider, you're still getting some money off. There are, as always, some exclusions with these particular offers, but what we've seen is combining the 70% off the second sailor and those instant savings, the deals actually compared to the wave offer deals that we've just seen over the past few months are quite comparable. So I really encourage you to head over to vvinsider.com/book, where you can look at all of the prices available for every single one of the upcoming sailings. And we've made some changes to make it even easier for you to make sure you snag a really good deal, because we've made it really obvious which sailings actually qualify for our extra special bonus sailor loot that you'll get from going through vvinsider.com. So as you're scrolling through this list, you want to have a look at these yellow tags, which explain how much extra bonus sailor loot we can give you, as long as you're choosing at least a limited or a slightly smaller sea terrace or above. And if you choose the category of bonus loot available, you can filter the voyages to just see the one where we give you that extra special sailor loot, and you can score up to $200 of extra sailor loot simply by booking through us. Of course, even if your voyage doesn't qualify for that extra sailor loot, you'll still get all the benefits of booking through vvinsider.com, which includes booking with the #1 resource for Virgin Voyages around the world, personalized planning information with ad-free content and tools, as well as the ability to earn diamonds on every single one of your voyages. And you can save those diamonds up and spend them on even more onboard credits. There is literally no better way to book a Virgin voyage. We absolutely love sailing on Virgin Voyages, and we know you will do as well. Amongst all the events and news over the past couple of weeks, there's been a new Happenings cast launch on board Scarlet Lady. So we have a brand new hostess called Bethany, who comes to Virgin Voyages from England. Having trained at the Royal Birmingham Conservatoire, Bethany is an incredibly talented vocalist and theatre actor, and she'll be taking up one of those pairs of iconic heels on board Scarlet Lady as the hostess. Filling out those other pair of iconic heels is China Craven the Diva. China is an Orlando-based drag performer. Having originally come from Texas, China has a flair for high energy performance and is no stranger to cruising, having been on board Carnival Cruise Line. She was recently crowned Miss Volusia Prize in 2025, and you'll be able to see China the Diva across Scarlet Lady's event lineup, including the exclusive show Lights Camera Drag that's available only on Scarlet Lady. Our article on VVinsider.com covers off the entire cast of 12 performers that you're going to be expecting to see on board. There is a range of new faces and returning artists, so make sure you check them out. They picked up the baton on Scarlet Lady on March 13 and are expected to be around until the 23rd of September. A fond farewell to the Scarlet Lady Happenings cast that left the ship on the 13th of March. If you're ever looking to meet the Happenings cast for your voyage before you head on board any of the 4 lady ships, then head over to VVinsider.com and simply search Happenings cast. And finally, a little bit of unexpected news, this time out of Australia. This is with the announcement that Virgin Voyages are committing to doubling down on the Australian market. We were made aware of this because Stephen Hopkins, the head of growth at Virgin Voyages, was part of a travel industry meeting earlier this week, where he made it known that Virgin Voyages were expanding their focus in Australia, as well as recruiting a new head of sales and development for the region. This is part of Virgin Voyages' commitment of reinvesting in the Australian market. Now, those that have followed Virgin Voyages for a while will know that Virgin Voyages actually made sailings and deployments to Australia back in 2023. This is when Resilient Lady repositioned from Europe and headed all the way down to Australia in the fall of 2023. It was originally assumed that this was going to be an annual thing where the ships would make their way and winter over in Australia. Now, unfortunately, due to disruption in the Red Sea, this was put an end to in 2024. There has been a huge amount of online speculation of whether Virgin Voyages will be making a re-entry into the Australian market when it comes to bringing a ship and doing a deployment down under. Nathan Rosenberg, the Chief Marketing Officer, last year had indicated that any deployment to Australia would probably form part of an Asia deployment. This all of course sounds extremely exciting, and we ourselves would love to see Virgin Voyages exploring that part of the world again. But it's very clear from the news that we heard around this announcement when it comes to Australia that the language that Virgin Voyages are using is very careful not to mention that a ship or a deployment or an itinerary is coming Australia's way, but this is really about sales and marketing and trying to get Australians to invest in the Virgin Voyages brand. That might mean convincing more Australians to come to the itineraries that are already in Europe or America. But we do know that next year during the Sisters at Sea 4-ship meetup, it's been promised that there will be a glimpse at the roadmap of the brand and what the future brings. So that could mean some more exciting news about new ships and destinations, but really we won't know until closer to the time. Just know that we will be among the first, if not the very first, to let everyone know about what's going on. So make sure that you stay subscribed to this channel so I can tell you all the news and when it happens. And if you want to get ahead of the curve, head over to the website and sign up to the email newsletter as well. Often the readers of our newsletter hear things before anyone else does. We've got a really exciting giveaway coming up very, very soon where we're giving away a free cruise. This is the first time we've ever given away a free cruise here at VV Insider, and we're so excited to do that. But we are still nailing down the details. So if you want to be in with a chance of winning that free cruise, make sure you head over to our Facebook page. Our Facebook page is a really good place to go for joining the conversation about Virgin Voyages and meeting other Virgin Voyages fans and maybe people that are heading on to your sailing as well. So head over to Facebook and search for VV Insider and make sure that you like or follow our page, and we'll let you know within the next week what you'll need to do in order to enter that competition for that free cruise giveaway. We're very, very excited for that, so do come along for the journey. I very recently put together a guide on upgrading your Virgin Voyages cabin, which has been really well received, and there's some really great tips in there on how to snag a cabin upgrade on your next voyage. So if you're looking for something more to watch, then head over to that video. But until next week, where we're going to be producing another video guide with some more top tips that you'll need to know for sailing, I just want to take this opportunity to wish everyone a happy Easter for everyone who celebrates that. And until next week, Happy sailing.